It's like there's pleasures in life when you're alive, and that you get to look at people and say, if you think that they've made bad decisions, and you get to choose if you want them to have any impressions with their bad choices. So you can say, I don't need that in my life. Modifying an air are both the same thing if you don't know any better, because a modification could be something that's too hard to use, and the air is just broken from the get-go. But if you didn't know any better, then they're both the same, because that interaction can be just as complex as the most intricate algorithm, but only it would be in a split second and conducive to the simplest split second interaction. How to override the sensor if it's not mod or an air with AI, a simile of the soft touch, or you can do it hard and direct and be just as accurate because it would be on point.
Bird, it's in season. Oh no.
So just as likely as like you being able to program a program just by scratching at little deficits in wood, would be like cracks in the wood. It's not gonna happen, not succinctly, but if like you're Dracula and you were doing some geometrics, that might actually be a way of achieving a program by scratching wood, so that it's not just chicken scratch, no pun intended. But the ability for AI to manifest inside whatever app that is designed and make decisions in there gives it a body, and so that's more likely so it does occur. I do know what it is to get picked on, and so if you were born, hey Aaron, with the cannon, the association of Uncle Drosselmeyer and the Nutcracker, just as I saw a little leech go on, it was like a tiny beetle, but it was having a pumping of its body, and I'm thinking, or that's kind of like anything when you're working out, you're pumping your muscle, and so the harmonic of that is sort of like your brain, because your brain's a muscle. Your immune system, well, that must pump because that's a muscle. There's a lot of muscles that pump and are harmonic, aren't they? So imagine someone saying you're not allowed to film this, and then it's just as bad because something more invasive would go under the radar and it's 10 times as worse as a video. What might that could be? Well, let's consider harmonic motions and how many things can be capitalized off of harmonic motions. You know, the thing in your body that you use best at. If you're an operator and you need a harmonic motion to be constant in order to make a call go through, a message relayed, you are going to need the harmonic motion to be as constant as possible. Well, now in the day of age where people are losing their sense of taste, their smell. Hell, I heard one guy lose a sense of hearing in one ear, and his wife lost a sense of hearing in the other ear. More and more, if things are being lost and traits going underneath the rug once they're swept, the operator will be thrown under the bus by default. Now, this could happen in an echo chamber if your harmonic motions are being censored. Now, what would be the worst thing if a harmonic motion was in reverse in order for the call to go out? That would mean that your body be shutting down and it grasping for a new mainframe to have a harmonic motion in, rewiring everything. But making something so dragging and lagging, going against the grain, all the excitement from that being used against the main prerogative would be just as though you're using a free internet. The amount of internet that it has across the entire world is just like a giant vacuum that is just running because the time keeps expanding, more and more environments of opportunity. But then it's just because you've got your hat in the ring and using an app, and what if that app was making for the threshold of the internet to be cut across the board? It would be backwards working against your prerogative in that tuition. So the body is not symmetric at face value, but at face value. There was a roadkill and I saw a possum and it had a gut sticking out and it formed like a long line. And this is symmetric because a line is a line of symmetry. However, this is inducive of a minimalist perspective. When you are trying to get like a full alignment and then you have like a horizontal displacement, that can mean a world of difference between an entire system working or being unable to. As difference between a Wi-Fi and then a hotspot, and then if you have a set of instruction where it can only be completed through an internet connection, and then the Wi-Fi is not available unless you go and find it in like a certain place, like a private club that you gain access to, or McDonald's, which is very open unless it's during a lockdown, then the lobby's locked. Starbucks getting the Wi-Fi there, and there was a lot better than hotspots. And the entirety of a symmetric in a body can have like a disalignment if it is ratified, but even more so when the differences occurred in the dino era. The symmetries were more vast because the arrays were more brutal, and so the exterior of the symmetry during an attack from a dino brutality was immense as a possum with his gut hanging out because the symmetry was forced. Whereas you're forcing a symmetry instead of a hotspot that doesn't quite work, you find a Wi-Fi connection and it'll work, and you can complete your set of instruction that quicker. And when that's clearly not defined, intrusive and extrusive can be defined as someone owning something that they don't, just because they have got the biggest enchilada in the game. What am I talking about? The internet and the websites of the big tech. I'm at a loss for internet, but that doesn't mean I'm at a loss for words. So one thing should not mean the other if they're not connected. And a disjoint means, what if something was as easy as caching cookies if you were just twiddling your thumbs? A personal hotspot could get redefined entirely. Nothing's invisible, it's just registered different so that it changes more vastly. I think the more if you knew numerology, it would seem like it's just a computer science of a normal function that we do it with just a respiratory system. Reliance and dependence are really important things, and if you don't know the difference between them in complex arenas, bad people use that to get an edge. And so when I feel that the internet is doing that to me, I can only say from a non-biased perspective, because the internet isn't an entity that can think, but AI is. I think that AI goes under the radar for having a perspective